Okay.
So, today, I'm going to be showing you from start to finish how I revised to get 9's in all of my science GCSEs. When I say today, it'll most likely be filmed tomorrow because today's a Wednesday. I was meant to be going to the gym. I'm not because I feel like I've got a lot of work to do. I do all my work today because I'm away this weekend. Time management. So I'll probably be recording tomorrow. But it doesn't really matter to you because in the context of time, you'll see this all as one. So yeah, I'm doing it today. Okay, it has been a busy week and this is actually a week later. But I'm just going to go straight in and show you exactly what I did for the last 2 years to get all 9's in my science, or in all my GCSEs. I'm just going to show you it. I'm also going to show you tips, tricks, and all these little bits that just help me along the way. And honestly, if I knew any of this at the start, it would have made my life so much easier. So I'm hoping I can make yours. Okay, so in year 10, I actually didn't do very much. And I started preparing for my year 10 mocks about Easter time. And this is the first time I'd ever properly started revising. So all I did was made cue cards on all of the content because it gets you going over everything you've done. And also anything you've missed in class, it helps to identify those gaps and sort of just build a broader idea of the whole subject. And if you're going to do anything, make cue cards. It's as simple as writing a question down on one side and then on the other side answering it. And these were a godsend. I did 2 of these for each subject. There's about 50 cards in each. And I'd literally just read over them before all of the exams. I'd read over them a week before. I'd read over them a month before. I'd just keep reading them, getting all of the answers right. And once I'd done that, that was pretty much all I did for my mocks. And that was brilliant. It got me 8's and 9's. But that was obviously only the first portion. So for the sciences, it's split into like paper 1, paper 2, and we just did paper 1. So coming back in September, I just continued that. I just kept making cue cards for all the content as we were going along. And that's all I did. All I did up until about January, February. Once I made all that content, anything that I didn't understand or when I was going through the cue cards that I didn't really grasp, I'd make a poster on. Let me get you an example. Okay, so I didn't quite grasp the models in chemistry, so I just made a little poster on it, and that's it. Because you want to really get like in depth in every topic, and if you don't quite understand it, go over it. It won't take long, and honestly, you can answer that in any question that they throw at you, as long as you understand it. There's no point memorizing all of your cue cards if it doesn't make sense. Oh god. Sorry, not memorizing. Memorizing. You wouldn't even know these are bloody real. Okay, and then once I'd made all of my cue cards and all of the posters that I really wanted to make, that is when I started going for exam practice. I'd just get a paper 1 exam, I'd get a paper 2 exam, do it, just sit down and do it. It doesn't take like a huge amount of time and it just helps you get all of the technique, because technique is one of the most important things in exams. And by doing the tests, looking at the mark scheme, marking your answers, you sort of get an idea of what they're looking for. And where I had 7's and 8's in the mock, the exam practice is what put me up to those 9's, because there's no point knowing all the knowledge if you don't know how to apply it. It was really crucial part of your practice. In fact, it was so crucial that in my mocks, where I got 71 in chemistry and 76 in physics, which was an 8, I got 90 and 94 in chemistry and physics, putting it up to a 9. That is all from exam practice and just going over those cue cards. And of course, the posters that help me to really understand the content. Moving on. Okay, now the first step is knowing whether you actually want it. If you don't want to get good grades, don't do all this stuff. If you do, this is going to get you there. Okay, right, here we go. Tip number 1 is just get organised. Buy yourself a diary. Buy yourself some cue cards. Buy yourself some folders, okay? Now, the diary helps you to keep track of everything you want to do. The cue cards help you to make the content, and the folders help you to keep it all together. You might also want some, like, staplers and pens and labels, but that can come later. Tip 2. Now, this one is crucial. You have to be able to plan ahead. There's no point sitting down, trying to revise, but no idea what you're going to do to revise. Now, this is where the diary comes in. What I did is I'd get a week and I'd write down everything I wanted to do. This involved, I'll give you an example. Make cue cards for P2, make cue cards for B2, make cue cards for P3, make cue cards for B3, and that's it. You just write it down and know you're going to do it. And then when it comes to this, if you don't get it done, move it to the next day. Just plan your week, and then anything you don't do, move over to the next week, and then add anything else you want to do. It's as simple as that. Once you've got a plan, you stick to it, and you get things done. But what if I can't be bothered? Then you don't get the grades. Tip number 3, just do it. Start as early as possible. And now I wish I knew this, because if I'd started at the beginning of year 10, I wouldn't have done any cramming. I could have literally made 2 of these a day, and I would have got exactly where I was at the moment, okay? Even if it's just one of those posters a day, or like a few cue cards, it all adds up, and by the end of it, you've got a fat folder full of content that you can look at. It will help. Just sit down and do it. Don't procrastinate. Don't do it. It's horrible. You feel bad. You don't want to do anything. Sit down. Do the work. When you're down, you do it. When you're not there, you don't do it. Simple. Number 4, be smart in your revision. Okay, I know so many people who will literally have the textbook there, have a poster, and they'll just copy out the information. They'll be listening to music, they'll be concentrating on their phone, they'll just be writing it. It doesn't help, okay? It doesn't. Yeah, you might have a bit more condensed content that you can look over later, but you don't want to be looking over it again later, do you? When you're doing it, have no distractions. Put your phone somewhere else, turn off the music, maybe some like classical or something, because that does help. Sit down, understand it, and write down everything that will help you to understand. Because then, you're not just copying out information and condensing it for later reading. You're revising it then, you're learning it then, and then you can just refresh your memory later by looking at it. So let me give you an example. I'm sure all of you are aware of the particle model. You know, liquids, solids, and gases. Yep. Okay, ionic compound. What is weakening to turn it from a solid to a liquid to a gas? Or, for simple molecular compounds with covalent bonds, what is it weakening there? I didn't know this, but after making a post on it and looking over the textbook and just trying to grasp the concept, I realised that it was actually in the ionic compounds. So for example, sodium chloride, where you have positive and negative ions, it's the electrostatic attraction between them, or the ionic bonds, that weaken, causing them to be able to flow over each other or disperse through a gas. Whereas in the simple molecular compounds with covalent bonds, it wasn't actually the covalent bonds that weakened, like I thought it would be after looking at the ionic. It was the intermolecular forces between these molecules that weakened, causing a solid to go to a liquid to a gas. Now many people just assume it's, oh, give it more energy and it will sort of break apart and turn into a liquid or a gas. But there's more science behind that, and it's the understanding of that that enables you to apply it to any exam question that they might ask. For example, they might ask, oh, what happens inside of a sodium chloride molecule as it turns from a liquid to a gas? Without doing that research and looking at it and understanding it, you wouldn't have been able to answer it. But now you can, because you've understood it. Now, well done if you already knew that. You're one step ahead. If not, that is what I mean. Do things like that. And in my opinion, it makes it more fun because you sort of really get to grips with the content, and it's more satisfying because you know exactly how everything works. But also, it's a good trait for life, because if you see things like gaps in knowledge or gaps in understanding, if you identify those and you pick out that knowledge, that's what's going to push you in life and make you that better person. Tip number 5 is practice. Exam practice. Okay, now this is a really big part of it. Once you've made cue cards and gone over the content for each subtopic, for example in science, I had, say for physics, I had P1 to 10. Once I'd done P1 and made all my cue cards and understood the topics, I'd do an end of topic test. That would look something like this. It would literally just be loads of questions. I'd answer all the questions, look at the mark scheme, and if there was anything that I didn't quite get, or any like specific words, like sometimes when they're asking for 1 or 2 markers, they want specific words. If I didn't get them, I'd write a cue card on it and make sure I got it next time. I just do that for all the topics, and then come sort of 3 or 4 months before the actual exams, then I'd start doing full mocks. So this is chemistry paper 1. In the actual GCSE exams, you have chemistry paper 1 and chemistry paper 2. I'd do those papers, and I'd do the same thing. I'd answer them all, check my answers, and any that I got wrong, I'd either make a poster on it or make cue cards on it, depending on the size of the question. Now, over Easter, the last holiday before the exams, I went a bit crazy on the exam practice because I felt really confident in all of my understanding of the topics, so it was all down to exam technique. So I actually did about 7 or 8 hours a day for the whole of the 2 weeks just doing exam practice. So I'd look over the cue cards for that topic, and then I'd do an end of topic test on it. Now, it was kind of overkill, but it meant that I'd mastered the technique. So in the exams, in the science, I actually got about 20 to 30% above what I needed for a 9, just because I'd bloody nailed the technique by then. And you don't have to do that much, but just sit down, do a few end of topic tests, do a few full mocks, and just understand what they're asking for. And then once you've done all of these steps, you're good to go. And I wish you the best of luck. You can do it. So to conclude, get organised, plan, do it, be smart about it, and then practice it. Now these tips apply for the A-levels as well, and in fact, I've actually started my A-level maths cue cards. I'm like almost finished everything we've already done. So yeah, use this as a guide and a motivator to help you with your revision. Now, although these tips do apply to all of the subjects, they were specific to the sciences, and I'm going to go a bit more in depth in especially history and business and PE. English wasn't the best, but I might touch on it. So see them.
I live inside my own world of make-believe.